everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Joshua Bridwell Show. This is the podcast where we talk about your personal and professional growth, and I share insights, stories, and tips to help you grow. And today I want to talk about something pretty controversial. Some of you may be even terrified of this topic, but I would be doing you a huge disservice if I didn't talk to you about the potentials of AI, because it is something that is growing at a very fast rate. People know very little about what it is. They have preconceived notions that it's this terrible thing, and they think that it's coming for their job. Well, I've got some good news and some bad news, and we're going to get into that here in just a little bit. But first, I want to clear up what AI even is, because a lot of people's definition of AI, if they even have one, is something that they have picked up out of some AI doomsday robot movie. And if you are somebody that is scared of AI, especially thinking that AI is going to destroy humanity, then you need to lay off those kinds of movies. Because if we look at the National Artificial Intelligence Act of 2020, the term artificial intelligence means a machine-based system that can, for a given set of human-defined objectives, make predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing real or virtual environments. Nowhere in there does it say that AI is a self-learning, a self-generating piece of technology. That's just not true. What we do see AI as is a machine-based system that can predict things, that can make recommendations, and or decisions that can influence real or virtual environments. There is somebody behind the AI development to make this work. All AI is you type in your question, and that's typically the input, or you tell it to do something. It runs through an algorithm. An algorithm is not a self-growing, self-learning anything. It is just a series of patterns that technology has learned to recognize, and then it spits out an outcome in the form of a question or the task that you are asking it to do. AI is something that in and of itself is an amoral concept. There are some people behind it that can do some damage, and we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. When it comes to implementing AI into a business, people fear that maybe AI is going to come and take your job from you. Well, if that's your mentality, then I've got good news and I've got bad news. The bad news is that you might be right. And the good news is that that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose your job. For businesses that are going to be implementing AI, we can see a projection of 97 million new jobs. So that doesn't mean that you're automatically going to lose your job if your company starts implementing AI. In fact, it's just another technological advance that we've seen throughout history. If we talk about the automobile, that puts some equestrian businesses out of business, maybe some stagecoach or carriage businesses out of business. But at the same time, look at how many new jobs that's created. Look at the technological advances, the things that are possible. And I think that that was a really great step for mankind. And people fear that just because their business is going to be incorporating AI means that they're going to be on the unemployment line. That's not true. In fact, it can have some serious benefits for you in the form of one or two, maybe even countless ways. But the two that I'm going to dive into today, the first one is your company has the ability to generate a higher profit. And when it generates a higher profit, some of that can go back to you in the form of a raise. Congratulations. Working alongside AI can actually get you paid more, and people are already seeing that. There are some people that have experienced a 1.4% pay increase, and I know that 1.4% is nothing that you can't go to the grocery store and spend in a single trip. But this act came out in 2020 and people are already seeing the benefit of it. That's only 4 years ago. We are in the early stages of AI. Be patient, see where it goes. And the second benefit is that it can lead to a 4-day work week. And in fact, 58% of people say that they would rather have a 4-day work week than a raise. And that comes with a lot of benefits. For people that have experienced 4-day work weeks, we see 71% of workers experienced less burnout after 6 months of a 4-day work week. We also see 70% are happier, 62% are healthier, 70% are less stressed, and 64% feel more productive. So you can have fantastic benefits while having a 4-day work week. Sounds good to me, but there are still people that aren't bought into AI. In fact, 47% of people think that the implementation of AI into business is a healthy move. You have 26% of people that believe that this is a negative thing, and then you have 26% of people that still haven't made up their mind. They say that this is something that is too early for them to have an opinion on. And I know that I've kind of painted it as rainbows and butterflies so far, but I'm not going to lie to you. It does have some dangers, and so we're going to dive into that piece. The first danger is we talked about the fact that AI is something that is man-made, it's not self-learning, not self-generating, and the creators behind AI may have malicious intent. And so we have to be careful about algorithm biases. We have to be aware that just because it presents us with data does not mean that it is 100% accurate at all times. We have to do our own due diligence. For example, I do real estate investing. And so if I put in property information into a system that has AI and it spits out a number, and I present that number to somebody looking to sell their property, then at that point, I have to make sure that my numbers are correct, or else that's not going to happen. That deal is not going to happen. So AI is a good tool, but you have to do your own due diligence. You have to make sure that the information that it provides to you is correct. And if you're worried about things being biased in some sort of way and presenting false information, then you may be boycotting social media too, because social media presents a whole bunch of false information at all times. And it's not just social media, it's media in general. So yes, AI can be biased, but so can any media. It is a tool that we are supposed to use. Make sure that you're using it correctly. Make sure, if you're a developer, that you're developing it in an ethical way, and make sure that it is accurate before you do anything with that information. The next piece is that your information could get leaked with a data breach. And I'm not going to lie to you, that's no different than if you were to buy things online. If you don't buy things online, then I would imagine that you're probably not an adopter of AI, and that's okay. But if you're somebody that is interested in AI, but you're worried about the data breach, you have to know that that is a risk that you take with any piece of technology. I mean, there have been scandals throughout American history where information's been taken, especially with some of the bigger box stores. When you swipe your card, sometimes people can steal your information that way. And the United States just had a huge data breach where almost every single American's social security number was taken. And so we have to be very, very careful what we do with our information. And so please use AI responsibly, but be aware that that is a risk that you take whether you use AI or if you're just going to buy groceries with that 1.4% raise that you received. And once again, for anyone who is afraid of AI, stop watching those AI doomsday movies. They're not going to be doing you any good. They're going to give you a false lens to see this because AI can be a really powerful thing. And the world is changing, and please change with it. If you are somebody that's young, I encourage you to get in on the ground level, learn these skills because they are going to be very, very valuable for you in the future. And the sooner you learn, the more valuable you're going to be later. And if you are somebody who is middle-aged to elderly and you're afraid that AI is going to be taking your job from you, then you need to lean a little bit away from the hard skills, start learning the soft skills that are going to be transferable, that are going to make it easier to transition from job to job if you are actually worried about that. But what ends up happening most of the time is a company will adopt a new piece of technology and you learn to work alongside that technology. When you work alongside that technology, it can lead to things like the 4-day work week, where you are enjoying more of life. Your pay is probably not going to go down because of that. And if it does, then I would be looking for a different employer who isn't going to treat you in that way as less valuable just because they decided to implement new technology. And most importantly, like I said, the world is changing, change with it. My family has owned a newspaper company for several generations. I say several, it was started by my great grandfather. So I worked there. So it's passed through 2 generations of ownership, but 4 generations have actually worked there. What I discovered is that my great grandfather started the paper with printing presses, old-fashioned printing presses. Then the computer came along and they started using online software. And that software was still being used whenever I worked at the paper. It refused to upgrade. This isn't going to make sense to a lot of you, but there was a computer that ran on 1 megabyte. That is insane. And the newspaper just refused to adapt. And what happened is our other competing paper moved to an online platform. It was quicker to get news out. It engaged more people. It was more cost effective. And ultimately, that created problems that had us shut down our newspaper because we refused to adapt with the times. And I don't want that to be you and your business in this AI trend that's going to happen, because if your business is not implementing AI and your competitor is, and it's more cost effective, it's driving profits for them, it is increasing customer experience, then you are putting yourself at a much higher risk for closing down your business. So the implementation of AI can have tremendous benefits. Does it have dangers? Sure. But what technology doesn't? What new adaptation that can potentially change the world and is changing the world isn't going to come with some sort of risk? But you have to be able to live with that risk in order to move forward in a healthy way. And so I challenge you to change your viewpoint on AI. And to help you, I have linked a book down below called Don't Fear the AI. It is going to be a guide that's going to be helping you to figure out exactly what AI is, what it's not, what some of the preconceived notions are that you have, the biases that you have that are keeping you from adopting this very necessary piece of life in the upcoming years. So go ahead, click on that link down below, get yourself a copy of that book, and get in on the ground level, because this is only going to increase and grow faster and be more relevant as time goes on. So thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Joshua Bridwell Show. We'll catch you next time. Let's grow.